So let us start at the beginning. Bazzite was born from a simple question. What if you could take everything great about Valve's SteamOS 3, the operating system that powers the Steam Deck, and make it work on any computer, not just a handheld, but a full desktop, not just for gaming, but as a complete operating system? You could actually live in that exactly what Universal Blue set out to create. Bazzite is a Fedora-based distribution, but calling it just another Linux flavor misses the point entirely. It is built on Fedora's atomic desktop technology, which is where its name comes from. Fedora. Atomic desktops have historically used mineral names, and Bazzite continues that tradition. It is named after Bazzite, a mineral which might seem like a quirky detail, but it signals something important about the project's roots and philosophy. The first stable release version 1.0 arrived in November 2023. It was built on Fedora 38 and targeted specifically at Linux gamers on PCs and the Steam Deck from day one. The goal was clear: deliver an out-of-the-box experience that works for everyone, from someone just dipping their toes into Linux gaming to seasoned veterans who know exactly what they want from their system. What makes Bazzite particularly interesting is its dual nature. On one hand, it captures that console-like experience Valve created with SteamOS. Boot it up, and you can jump straight into a gaming mode that feels familiar to anyone who has used a Steam Deck. On the other hand, it is a fully functional desktop operating system. You can install applications, run development environments, set up media servers, whatever you need. It does not ask you to choose between a gaming machine and a real computer. It is both. This foundation, built on Universal Blue's work with container technology and Fedora's immutable design, is what separates Bazzite from simply being a SteamOS clone. It is something new entirely, with its own identity and purpose. The real magic of Bazzite lies beneath the surface, in how it handles updates. Most Linux distributions work like a house of cards. You install packages, you update packages, and if something goes wrong during an update, you might find yourself with a broken system. Anyone who has used Arch-based distributions or Nobara knows this feeling all too well. An update fails halfway through, a driver conflicts with something else, and suddenly you are staring at a black screen or a system that will not boot. Bazzite takes a completely different approach. It inherits its foundation from Fedora Silverblue and Kinoite, using something called RPM-OS. Instead of updating individual packages piece by piece, the entire operating system is delivered as a single complete image. Think of it like snapshots. When you update, you are not modifying your current system. You are downloading an entirely new version of the operating system alongside your existing one. Here is where it gets interesting. Your previous operating system version stays right there on your machine. Every update creates a new image while preserving the old one. If an update breaks something, you simply reboot and select the previous version from your boot menu. No terminal commands needed, no complicated recovery process. You just pick the working version and continue using your computer. The repositories keep these images available for 90 days, which gives you plenty of flexibility. Say an NVIDIA driver update breaks a game you were planning to play, you can open a terminal and rebase to an earlier image, essentially rolling back your entire operating system to a known good state. You can even pin that version to keep it around as long as you need it. This is what Atomic means in practice. The update either completes successfully and you boot into the new version, or it does not, and you still have your old version waiting for you. There is no halfway state where some packages updated and others did not. This eliminates the classic Linux problem of dependency hell. and broken updates that has frustrated users for decades. Now most people think of Steam when they think of PC gaming on Linux, and rightfully so. Valve has invested tremendous resources into making Steam work beautifully. But Bazzite recognizes that your game library probably spans multiple platforms, and that is where things get interesting. ublue-os comes pre-installed on Bazzite, and it serves as a bridge between your various game stores and the Steam gaming mode interface. What this means in practice is that games from the Epic Games Store, GOG.com e-app, Ubisoft, Connect, Rockstar Games Launcher, and even itch.io can appear alongside your Steam titles. You navigate them the same way, launch them the same way, and never have to leave that couch-friendly interface. Even Xbox Game Pass games work through Battle.net integration, which is a pretty clever workaround. The really thoughtful touch here is how Bazzite handles game libraries across devices. If you have games installed on a microSD card, you can move that card between different Bazzite installations, and the games just work. Your desktop, your handheld, your living room setup. They can all share the same game library without re-downloading anything. The system recognizes the games and integrates them automatically. This matters because game storage adds up quickly. Modern titles regularly exceed 100 gigabytes. Being able to carry your library on a microSD card and have it work seamlessly across multiple machines removes a significant friction point. You are not tied to one device or one installation. Your games travel with you, and Bazzite handles the integration work that would otherwise require manual configuration on traditional Linux setups. Let us talk about hardware. This is where a lot of Linux distributions lose people. You install the operating system, boot it up, and then spend the next 3 hours hunting down drivers, fixing weird compatibility issues, and wondering why your sound card refuses to make any sound. Bazzite takes a different approach. The philosophy is simple: work with your hardware, not for it. What does that actually mean? In practice, it means you should not have to fight your computer to make it work. The system should recognize your hardware and configure itself accordingly. Bazzite handles this by including a comprehensive set of drivers and configuration rules. Right out of the box, there is no separate driver download. There is no post-installation setup wizard. It just works. The supported device list tells you a lot about who Bazzite is. For the Steam Deck is fully supported, which makes sense given the project's origins. But they also support the Asus ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go 2 handhelds that shipped with Windows and have been somewhat notorious for software issues. Bazzite gives these devices a second life beyond handhelds. Version 41 added support for most x86-64 PCS from roughly the last decade. That is a wide net to cast on the driver front. Bazzite includes pre-installed proprietary NVIDIA drivers, which is notable because NVIDIA has historically been difficult on Linux. Many distributions require you to install these manually or through a separate repository. Bazzite just includes them for AMD and Intel users. There is full Mesa 3 stack support. Video encoding and decoding acceleration is built in. There are additional HID drivers for game controllers and other peripherals, plus a comprehensive set of udev rules that handle device permissions automatically. The goal is to eliminate friction. Your hardware should be ready to go the moment you finish installing. When you download Bazzite, you will face your first real decision: which desktop environment do you want? The project offers 2 distinct flavors, and the choice shapes your entire experience with the operating system. The KDE Plasma build comes from Fedora Linux, and it feels immediately familiar to anyone coming from Windows. You get a bottom taskbar, a start menu in the corner, and widgets you can arrange. However, you like the whole aesthetic is highly customizable, letting you tweak and arrange things to match your workflow. Valve's SteamOS themes come pre-installed, so the visual style matches what you would find on a Steam Deck. It is a desktop-first experience designed for traditional computing with a keyboard and mouse. The GNOME build takes a completely different approach, built from Fedora Silverblue. This variant is optimized for touch input. The interface features rounded corners and design choices specifically aimed at handhelds and tablets. If you are installing Bazzite on a Steam Deck, an Asus ROG Ally, or a Lenovo Legion Go, the GNOME version makes a lot of sense. The touch targets are larger, the gestures feel natural, and the whole interface responds beautifully to finger input rather than mouse clicks. So how do you choose? Think about your hardware first. If you are building a gaming desktop or a living room PC controlled with a controller, KDE Plasma gives you that traditional computing experience. If you are on a handheld device, GNOME might feel more comfortable day to day. But this is also about personal preference. Some people simply prefer the Windows style layout, regardless of their device. Others fall in love with GNOME's clean minimalist approach. Neither choice locks you out of gaming. Both variants run Steam gaming mode identically. The desktop environment only matters when you exit that gaming mode and want to use your system like a regular computer. So you have got your gaming setup sorted. But what about everything else? This is where Bazzite's approach to applications really shines, and it is completely different from what most Linux users expect. The operating system treats your regular applications almost entirely as containerized software. Flatpak is the foundation. Here, every graphical application you install comes from Flatpak, and this is not just about convenience. Flatpak provides attestation and security verification for the applications in its repository. What this means in practice is that applications are sandboxed, verified, and isolated from your core system. You can install something, try it out, and if it causes problems, it cannot touch the underlying operating system. But what happens when you need something that is not available as a Flatpak? This is where things get interesting. Bazzite includes DistroBox and a handy tool called BoxBuddy. These let you run packages from basically any Linux distribution, as if they were native applications. Need an RPM package from Fedora's repositories? You can do that. Need something from the Arch user repository that works 2 Ubuntu packages? No problem. The system creates containers for each of these environments, and the applications inside them integrate seamlessly with your desktop. Then there is Homebrew. If you have spent time on macOS, you probably know this package manager well. Bazzite brings it into the mix because a lot of command line tools and development utilities are distributed through it. The whole philosophy here is what the developers call a cloud-native approach to the desktop. Everything runs in containers. Your applications are isolated. Your development environments are isolated. Even random utilities you grab from obscure repositories end up contained and manageable. The practical result is that you stop worrying about whether something will work. The container handles all the compatibility issues for you.